Okay, this video is going to be basically the demo for the indicator lab, this is the sheet you should have. I have set up the grid like this paper, so you should be able to just follow along on the paper. I've already filled in pH paper here, red litmus paper here, and blue litmus paper here, so we can see the reactions. Okay, I will add the phenolphthalein, the Blymo blue, and the methyl orange later as we go. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is test hydrochloric acid. Okay, hydrochloric acid turns the pH to a nice dark red, and if we get our pH paper caps, we see that HCl has a pH of 1. Here it's the nice red color. Okay. When HCl comes in contact with red litmus paper, it basically does nothing. It stays red. Now if we add it to blue, you can see that it turns blue red. Okay? Then I'm just going to add some hydrochloric acid to the well here, and I add the other indicators. And we already know, or you should hopefully know, that hydrochloric acid is, or it's an acid, because it begins with hydrogen. So we know that all this should be an acid, so if you want to go ahead and mark that on your paper, you can go ahead and put acid there. So that's just kind of your base control that we're going to figure out an unknown here in a moment. Okay, so now I'm going to add the phenolphthalein. We're going to see what color it turns into when it comes in contact with an acid. And nothing. Okay, so that did nothing there. We're going to go with the brimethyl blue. Ooh, it turns a nice yellow there. And then we're going to go with a methyl orange. And it didn't really change very much. Maybe if you look, yeah, it looks like no change there. Okay. Moving on to sodium hydroxide. And what is sodium hydroxide again? Well, hopefully you've learned by this point this is a base. So we're going to check that out. We're going to do it the same way. So it's going to turn this pH paper blue, and we know that since this is a base, this should have a high pH, which it does. It's a nice blue color. On this sheet, it's a 12, so pretty high. When a base comes in contact with a base, it turns blue. When it comes blue paper, it comes in from a base, it also stays blue. And then I'm going to add a little bit here to each of these wells. There we go. Okay, and if hydrochloric acid is a strong acid and sodium hydroxide is a strong base, so we need to also keep that in mind here. So we're going to add some phenolphthalein. Ooh, that is a nice pink or fuchsia color. I'm going to try the brimethyl blue. And that stays blue. And the orange. We kind of see a contrast here. We see that the methyl orange becomes a darker red, and it becomes an orange in form of a base, which is lighter than here. Right? This is the color mostly of the solution, and over here this is much orange. It's a lot orange than what the original color is. So that is a strong base. So we're going to look at acetic acid next, and acetic acid is a weak acid, so we're going to see if it changes any of the indicators if in the presence of a weak compared to HCl, a strong acid. Okay, we see that it did turn red on the pH paper, but not as red as the HCl. That's more of an orange. So we can kind of see it's got a pH between 3 and 4, something like that, depending on your colors there. Okay. A weak acid with red litmus paper, no change. So that is the same as the strong. With blue litmus paper, it turns it red, just like the blue. So this has, between strong and weak, has no change. And then we're going to do our other indicators with acetic acid. Let's see if these have any changes with a weak acid. Okay, that is the same. So phenolphthalein has the same reaction between weak and strong. And that's the blue. Still turned yellow, just like with the strong acid. And let's see if methyl orange has any change. And no, I mean, you could argue that maybe it's not as red as that. This is definitely the same color as the original solution. Okay, so we know this is an acid. Okay, so Alka-Seltzer. Well, what is Alka-Seltzer labeled as? Well, Alka-Seltzer is labeled as an antacid. So what do you think that should be? Is that going to be an acid or a base? Well, I'm going to put the Alka-Seltzer in, and we're going to see what it does. It should, if it's an antacid, be a base.